All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Halloween. Today, we're going to talk about a pretty scary topic that some of you may be in the process of implementing your warehouse audit. And we're going to go over some helpful warehouse tips, treats, and some scaries that we've seen in the past. I'm going to wait a couple minutes just to let everyone join, and we'll get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everyone will join in. This session is definitely interactive, so if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I have my colleague Dana here who heads up support. A lot of you probably have interacted with her. She's going to feed me some questions through the chat when they come in, so don't hesitate. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is a little different than what we normally do in our office hours, just because we've gotten a few requests about how to audit and what the process is like if you're doing on your own. One of the unique things about Ply and the people here is we are customer obsessed. We travel all around the country to help customers implement Ply. They want us to perform audits. We're on site with them for many days. And that allows us an interesting perspective and access to now over 100 different warehouses. And we've learned a lot since then, and it's definitely come through in the product, and we've been able to collect your feedback to be able to better the process. But we've seen a lot, and we want to make sure that our learnings are passed down to you, whatever stage you're in. If you're in the beginning stages of planning your warehouse audit, in the production stage where you have Ply implemented, or even if you're an expert here, you're probably going to pick up a couple of things that would be helpful. So let's get into it. Today, we're going to cover auditing tips, treats, and some scaries. It's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. And we've definitely seen a lot of scaries there, and we're going to cover a couple of those. We're going to cover some barcoding basics with Ply and talk a little bit about how you can use some of the functionality that Ply offers to be able to print your own barcodes and manage that. And then we're going to pause for some questions in between the different topics that we have here. So let's get started. All right, auditing tips, treats, and some scaries. So the first thing you want to start doing when you are beginning the process of thinking about an inventory audit or setting up a new warehouse is you want to ensure that you have an audit schedule. Now, this is something that we provide customers when they onboard with us. Yours could look a little bit different, and it also could be not as condensed. We typically are able to come on site with customers and perform an audit, in 3 to 6 days, but yours could be weeks, and that's totally fine. But I think the takeaway here is really to make sure that you have an audit schedule that you can deliver to the team. In your team meeting, begin to prepare your team to understand what you're going to be doing in the coming weeks, and also be able to give them an itinerary of responsibilities and timeline of what's going to happen. Now, this could look like a condensed version like you see here that we perform when we're on site with you all. Or again, it could be over a week where, maybe you're doing an inventory audit, Monday, Tuesday, and you have some stages of who's doing what. But just make sure that it's consistent and that you can carve out some time in your very busy schedules to be able to perform the audit. A lot of the tasks in an audit, especially if you're getting a new warehouse set up or you're doing this for the first time, are extremely tedious, especially if you have a large warehouse with hundreds of items. You want to make sure that you can create this schedule and really stick to it. I think that's the key here, is really making sure that you can stick to your audit schedule. The next thing, once you've set up your schedule and your goals, is you want to map out your space. Now, this is, a large investment in the company. You're using company time, which is money. And you also may be doing resources, maybe using resources as well that, will help the audit. But a first step is really understanding the space. You want to understand the flow of your space and map that out. You may be doing some pretty drastic changes, like moving a warehouse or putting in new bins, or you may be taking everything down from the shelves and reorganizing them. But it's really important that you map out the space for the flow. In this example, one of the things that we did was we worked with the company to be able to understand what was important to them in their space, like what was the objective. One of the things is they have a very high traffic warehouse where technicians come in, they pick things out of the warehouse, and they grab them for jobs. This is more of a commercial space that we're looking at here. And they wanted to make sure that those high frequented picked items were up front, and the items in the back were things that were less picked, during the weeks and months. So up in the front here, in the first couple rows, we had the consumables and the smaller items that were picked. And again, in the back, these were like larger items that were probably from cleanouts that they would reuse. But again, they put it in the back. One thing to note here, and I've mentioned this in a couple of different videos that we've created, is you also want to consider safety as well. If you have tall bins and bays where people may have to go on ladders, or you have heavy things on the top, really consider moving the items to different areas that are a little bit more safe for your employees and yourself, so that you're not dropping something on the floor or on someone, then that could injure them. So one of the things that we did in this space is, especially in the high trafficked consumable area, we pulled all the heavy bins down, we put them on the lower bins, and then in some cases we moved them to shelving that was a little bit more safe and sturdy. Another thing we did with this space is they didn't have a tool area within their warehouse. The tools were kind of all scattered along the back wall over here, and they wanted to make sure that they created a cage for their valuable tools. So we worked with them to restructure this warehouse to be able to have a tool cage in the back, where individuals would have keys or could request items, but everything was safe, and no one walked out with valuable tools. You can see here, we just started off with a sketch. So a good takeaway here for you is, you can use pen and paper and then transfer that into like a blueprint here. Your building also may have a blueprint that you can use, and we'll look at that in the next slide. One of the other things we did for this particular space is it's important to have before and after photos. And we were able to take videos and before and after photos so that we kind of see the different progress we made. And further in this deck here, you'll have some links to some videos that actually show this space in its completed state. This is another example. So this is an example of us using a blueprint from a warehouse. This was actually more of a complex. So this is a very large HVAC company where we were doing an audit and also closing down some portions of the warehouse and doing a consolidation. So we worked with the business owner and the warehouse manager to really understand what was valuable, what was not. And so when you're creating your schedule, it's really important that you audit the things that are most important first. You don't need to audit things that are sitting on the shelf for a year. During that very important time frame, the first couple of weeks, you want to make sure that you're utilizing that time for the things where you're going to, when you go live, either with Ply or your own inventory process, that you really look at the valuable high value items. So you can see here what we did was we worked with them to tier off, what was important. And we do this when we're on site too. We're only on site for a short period, so we typically don't get to 100%. We get pretty close, like 75 to 80%, and we leave you with, a game plan moving forward as well. Now that we've mapped everything out, we have a schedule, it's really time to put the audit into practice. Now, one of the things I really, really want to stress here is it's not an all or nothing task. You can do this in pieces. A lot of times what we do with people who are doing internal audits is we instruct them to take sections of the warehouse or even just bays, like do one bay a day or one bay a week. And one of the really helpful things that we offer here now is these inventory audit cards. This allows your team to write in the name, the quantity, the item number, the location, and then we have a barcode here that we can scan and apply. one of the iterations of Ply that we're going to have is being able to scan this card and automatically pull the data out to create an item. But some benefits of this is it allows you to have the information easily maintained. So your team can actually write the name of the item, the quantity, and put this card inside of the bin or on the bay or on the product that it's corresponding to. And the importance of this is it saves your space, and it is a signal to everyone that I've taken an audit of this, and this is something that if you are going to pull an item, make sure you change the quantity from 2 to 1 if you're pulling something that's not entered into the system yet. And again, like, this is an iterative process. This does create one extra small step if you're implementing Ply. Now, you can use Ply in the iOS application and Android application to input the materials by hand. But one of the things to keep in mind is it typically takes anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to count and input an item. And if you're wanting to create some consistency and accelerate at least the counting and the onboarding of this, these cards are a helpful way to do that. And it also, like I mentioned, it allows you to take your time doing the audit, right? Like, you can do one day at a time. I don't want to create a space where everyone is anxious or has inventory anxiety. These cards will definitely help you do it. And it also gives anyone the ability to do this, right? Like, they really just need to know how to count an item and pull the information off of the manufacturer information, or write down the name and put the card in there. So you can have your runners do it. You can have technicians do it if they're not busy. You can have the back office do it. This can really be something that everyone can do. It doesn't have to be something that just the warehouse manager is tasked with, or even just the owner. The next thing is, when you're going through this process, make sure you give yourself some space. One of the things that we do with companies is, it's hard, but we instruct them to really start to think about purging some of the materials that they're not using. Now, you may not know what your dead stock is right this minute, and Ply actually allows you the ability to have insight into what that dead stock is once you're implemented. But you probably have a good idea based on the dust that's on those items, or the items that that have been sitting there for a long time that don't get moved. Maybe there's items that are bad, that are deprecated, you don't use anymore, brands that you've moved on from, etc. Consider reselling those items, donating them, or even getting a dumpster to throw them away. But really clear out some space before you begin doing your audit. Organize that space and create flow. Like, go back to that map that we've created, and give yourself some space to grow as well. You can see in this example here from this electrical company, we did a lot of purging, and there's some empty spaces in the shelf, and that is okay. You want to make sure that you have space to add more items. You're not gonna always have the same items, or if you need to carry more inventory for those periods where you're super busy, or on the weekends, you can do that. And this also allows your technicians to have room to pull easier. So, it creates a better flow. It creates a space where they don't have to look at 100 items on one shelf. In this example, you can see here that we've put 5 items on one bay, and then 5, maybe 6 items on another bay when they're smaller ones. And this one has 2. So again, it allows them to just focus on where those items are. Next thing you really want to consider is durable bins. This is an example on the right here of an older plumbing company that implemented cardboard boxes for their bins. And this is a cheap way of doing it for sure. Without a doubt, it's much cheaper, but it does come with its cons. And one of the cons here is that these bins start to degrade, they break, and they create a space where it's actually difficult for you to pull items. They're not durable. It also isn't stackable. These cardboard bins are cardboard, and so if you start to stack items on top of them, they're obviously going to begin to break down. So really consider using durable bins and being able to invest into this activity that you're going on. One of the neat things I didn't even know about that I saw a couple contractors do when we visited their space is they actually had a designated restocking area. And so this is an area very similar to if you were to do a clean out, but more transactional, where if someone's dropping something off, they know there's an area within the warehouse where you can actually just put something in a bin, or there's an area that's outside of the inventory, the main inventory. This keeps your team moving. They don't have the responsibility of, going through all of your different areas and trying to restock something themselves. But you do need to designate someone to restock. And so one of the things that I would consider once you've gotten implemented is, having a warehouse manager be responsible for restocking once a week. Again, it keeps them moving, and the consolidation of the restocking area allows them to just do it once, right? Once a week, maybe twice a week. It reduces the restock error in counting. If you have one person who's designated to it, or a few people who are, it allows you to really focus on the other things during the rest of the week. And finally, it does reduce time. So this time this time allows you to do more than just restock every single day. It allows you to really focus on pulling items and some other tasks that are on hand. One of the things that we do for every single customer is we implement an aisle level bin and bay and bin area. And this allows you or anyone in the warehouse to be able to find an item in your warehouse without really knowing everything about it. So even if you're in the back office and needed to pick something because the warehouse manager is on vacation, or if you're the owner and you're not really sure where all the items exist, you'll have at least a direction to be able to do this. One of the neat things that we've seen is, in this example here, this plumbing company out of Tampa put the aisle and the bay that corresponds with the bay on the floor. So they had a concrete floor, and they were able to spray paint the numbers on there. The other option is Uline actually provides these tags that you can actually put up on each bay, and it kind of acts as like a Home Depot. You'll have a Home Depot so that you can navigate this a little bit easier. Now, it does take a little bit longer to manage. This is something that we implement, but it's another input field that you have to put in there. And it's easy. Again, it's much easier for the warehouse managers and techs to navigate the warehouse, especially if things are changing throughout the course of your implementation. One of the things that's really important about your Ply warehouse and the implementation and the audit process is really deciding on consistent warehouse barcodes. And so this allows you to really start to learn the format of these barcodes. Now, Ply provides you all kinds of ways to be able to barcode your items. We support a number of different Brother Mobile Solutions printers. We'd highly recommend the PT910, which is a high adhesive laminate label that allows you to put on anything really, bins and bays. It comes in a variety of different sizes, from 8mm all the way to 32mm for different spaces. But we also allow you to print off barcodes and sheets, and you can also use other barcodes here. So again, it allows you to train the eye on like where the information is. It creates a cleaner space. So when you have that consistency, you're not like relearning a bunch of different barcodes. And again, it's easier for warehouse managers and techs to find items. So one of the really neat things, again, about traveling the country and seeing all these warehouses is we get to find these little nuggets that we pass on to people. And this is actually one of them. We are in the camp that the warehouse needs to be efficient in all parts. Now, again, you don't need to do everything at one time. But this little nugget here, bagging your loose items, allows you and your warehouse manager and technicians to be able to move a lot quicker. By bagging especially items that need to be clean, or you want to keep from damaging, putting them in bags is a good way to do that. So if you have brass fittings, or you have other kinds of couplings that you can't have dust on, putting them in bags makes them last longer, but it also allows you to be able to pull items quicker. Counting 50 screws and bolts is a very tedious task. People usually just put their hands in a bin and grab what they need. So this allows you and your team to be able to easily track and pull these items. You can just take this, put it on the truck, and you're done. The only con here is it does take a little bit longer to do. Like I wouldn't do this for every single item. Obviously, I would do it for the high value brass fittings, the ProPress couplings, or ProPress products. Maybe do it with nuts and bolts. But one of the things that you could invest in, if this is the direction that you want to head in, is getting a counting scale. So Uline actually makes these high precision counting scales where you basically put one of the items on, it calculates the weight, and then you throw 100 on there, and it calculates the weight of 100. Then you just dump them into a bag. Then you put a barcode on it, and you're done. And again, this is just a way to kind of create that efficiency, but also keeping everyone honest. It also, what we found in experimenting with this is it significantly reduces the bin to bin mismatch. So you may have a situation where someone pulls items and then there's a bin right next to it, and then they accidentally drop an item into that other item as well, into that other bin, and causes issues there. One really obvious thing, but something that we feel very strongly about is you want to make sure that you have one barcode per bin where possible. Having multiple barcodes is just incredibly confusing, as you can see in these examples here. You want to make sure that the technician or the warehouse manager, whoever's pulling the item and scanning it, has the ability to just very easily scan one barcode. Now, there could be situations where you need to have multiple barcodes on a single bin, but make sure you invest in separators or things that keep the item itself separated. That way that you're not mixing different items and accidentally pulling a 1/4 inch 90 versus a 1/2 inch 90, and then having to come back to the warehouse by accident. This is obviously one of those obvious things too, but you want to make sure that the barcode is on the bin. Make sure that you take off those barcodes and then place the correct barcode on the bin so that it stays in a place where you can always easily access it. This process should only take a couple of seconds to be able to scan an item, put in the quantity that you're looking for, and then pull that item out of the bin. And if you have to search for the barcode, then obviously it's something that is increasing friction here. You also want to make sure that the barcode plate is flat on the bin area. So you can see, this area here is a place where we want to put a barcode. Try not to put barcodes on the sides of bins or in the back of bins. Sometimes, it's confusing. It's hard to read. You have to pull the bin out maybe to scan it. And use different sizes if you need to fit different bins. Now, that's why Ply provides you multiple variations of barcodes. You can actually customize these barcodes on the iOS and Android application, or you can choose to print off about 10 different sizes and variations of those bins. Finally, you want to organize your bin so it makes sense to you and your team. Obviously, the one thing that you can consider is making sure that the sizing goes from smallest to largest. If you have an area that's like that, pull your bins forward, as one of the practices of maybe restocking or tasks that you have your warehouse manager do. Make sure the bins are against the bay so that you don't have bins that are falling behind the bay and are tipping over. It also just creates a space where it's clean, organized, something that the team is proud of, and just easy to pull items. This goes without saying, but once you're done with your audit or your restocking, clean up. This is obviously a hazard here in this example. You don't want someone to trip and fall on a bunch of barcode back labels. But also you want to make sure that, you reduce the dust in the warehouse. A lot of these items are sensitive, especially if you're an electrical company or plumbing company, HVAC company, really any trade has, sensitive materials that you want to keep clean. Everyone here is striving for, the 5-star review, and you want to make sure that you have, brand new items that you're installing in customers' homes or on that job that you're on. So just make sure that you're cleaning up, you're keeping a space that, reduces the dust and obviously keeps everyone safe. All right, some final thoughts here and some resources that you'll have access to. You don't need to do this all in one shot. When you're beginning to implement Ply, really make sure that you have a plan for it. If you want to take it all on at once and just get it over with, more power to you. I'm here to help. The team's here to help. But just know that you can take this in chunks. Do a bay a day. Do a bay a week. Do a section a week. Take a break. You don't need to do it in one shot. You don't need to burn yourself out or get audit anxiety here. Be okay with discarding those items. Create that space where you can actually put more items on in the future. Get rid of that stuff. I know it may be hard, but there are places that you can donate it to. Maybe you got a friend in the trades that could use it. Or, in some cases, just throw it away. It's okay. Set up an area for restocking so that you can keep it moving. Make sure that this area is clearly labeled. The team knows exactly where it is. But also make sure that you have someone that can manage that area: warehouse manager, technician, runner, apprentice, someone that can, put it away quickly, easily, and then keep the count on the cleanup. And then make sure that you have someone responsible for just the overall process. Have a point person. It could be you, the owner. It could be the back office manager. It could be the parts department. We've seen even, people designate an apprentice or a runner to be able to manage the implementation and give them a bit of responsibility in implementing this. So just make sure that you have someone that's responsible for this. And then finally, this is an investment in the business. This is something that's going to increase the value of the business. If you're looking to pass the business down or sell it, this actually will increase the value of that business. You'll be able to pull reports on the audit. You'll be able to pull items and the value of those items and assets that you have. But also, again, it's an investment in efficiency. Everyone spends a lot of time in the warehouse pulling items, organizing things, or maybe you don't. And this is an investment in the business, and treat it like one. There's some helpful links here. This link here that we'll send around is a YouTube channel that we've created that actually shows the process of auditing alongside the product. And then we actually have a shop here where you can buy supplies for your audit. So things like the printers we talked about today. We have links to Uline. You can buy scales. You can buy scanners. And if you need to replenish things for your warehouse as well, it's a place where you can do that. And just some inspiration. So this is a recent warehouse that we completed, and we're really proud about this one. This particular warehouse, didn't have barcodes on it, was slightly disorganized. There's a lot of material in here that wasn't being used, and this is a space that you can strive for. So we're here to help as well. These are things that we do on a daily basis. So, please reach out, schedule your audit, or use our team to be able to, get more helpful tips. All right. Thanks a lot.